public safety for a whopping 36 years. Most recently, she was in Arlington, Virginia. And Mr. Souter, I think she shared with me one of her career highlights involving you. So she's joining us today from the Shenandoah Valley. And Kara, you want to say hi? She will be working with Nikki and Shar on the training working group.
Thank you.
Right.
Staffing and training.
Yes. I'm excited to be here, and it's good to be a part of this really important work. I'm really excited about being a part of the team that comes together and everything that you're pushing forward, Senator.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
So next I'm going to ask Karen Henry to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Karen Henry. I'm a communications consultant with Mission Critical Partners. I'm also a lawyer, and I'm assisting in a couple of the working groups. And I'll be here just to, from a legislative standpoint, to assist the senator. And I'm excited to be getting this NG911 legislation pushed through. Thank you.
Fantastic. And thanks for the work you've already done, Karen.
And then Josh Jack.
Good afternoon, everyone. Joshua Jack from Mission Critical Partners. I'm back for a second year. I'm very excited to be supporting the Technology and Cybersecurity Subcommittee. I see we have an extremely strong subcommittee, so thank you, Senator. Hello, Mr. Ferretti. Good to see you again. And excited for another year.
Right.
Thanks. And then, Senator, as you noted, we do have Nancy Pollock that I roped into supporting me today out of retirement. She's not really out of retirement, but she is here with us. Nancy, you want to say hi?
Thank you, Sherry. Hello, Senator, and everyone, all my Maryland friends. Thanks for bringing me back. It's wonderful to see all of you. I will be supporting from time to time. Previously helped support the Oversight and Accountability Committee with Chief Brooks. And it's wonderful to see the progress that has been made, and hope that I can be part of future endeavors, but it will be sporadic.
Yes. All right. Sporadic is better than nothing. Delightful to see you, Nancy. Thank you. So,
and then Senator, we have one more, Nikki Tidy, who also was not available today, but Nikki will be working with Shar on staffing and training.
Dynamite. Great, great, great. Okay. So I want to give a huge, very special shout out of appreciation. Bill Ferretti retired from the Montgomery County 911 Center and accepted my invitation / plea to come back and help us in this fourth and final year. And I'm so grateful. He's in North Carolina, but one of the small silver linings of the pandemic is that he's able to participate when his schedule and stuff allows. So grateful for his expertise. And then Chief Brooks, I just kind of said, you have to come back. And Chief Richard Brooks, Cecil County, also retired, moved to Pennsylvania, but again, so grateful for his expertise. He was chair of the Oversight and Accountability Subcommittee. Bill Ferretti was chair of the Technology and Cybersecurity Subcommittee. They both have fabulous successors, but having them continue their work is incredibly valuable. And then Scott
stolen out of my hammock, I might add.
Scott Brillman generously stepped up to try to fill the very big shoes of Chief Brooks, and he's going to do a great job as chair of the Oversight and Accountability Subcommittee. So with that, Sherry, why don't we pivot to the PowerPoint? I want to run through, and everyone else can introduce themselves as part of the subcommittee. I think will be the easiest way since we are big. It looks like Tiffany Harvey is joining us. Great. Sherry, if you can help her make sure she's in. Okay, so let's get started.
One person, I'll be my phone only.
There we go. Hey, Tiffany, welcome.
Hey, how are you guys?
Good. Tiffany, if you could rename yourself to first and last name, that would be great. And Sherry, if you can start the PowerPoint.
Are you seeing it?
Yes, but if you can go to the next slide. Okay, so this is what we're going to accomplish today. We have a lot to do, and again, since we started a little late, so let's move on. And I want to thank my staff, Ryan Kirby and Abby Snyder, for helping with the PowerPoint, the preparation, and so much more. You can go ahead, Sherry. So this is part of the game that has helped us get this far. This is a bit of an old picture, but many of the folks in this picture are still engaged in this commission. So go ahead. Nope, do we change the order? We were doing subcommittees next or not? Okay, the legislative update, and Senator Riley, Delegate Hill, Delegate Krebs can chime in at any point. We had 5 bills, and I just want to tell you briefly, the first 2, which were the biggest, most important ones, both passed and are on the governor's desk. So moving the Maryland Emergency Management Agency from under the military department where it didn't belong is important. That's going to become a cabinet level department reporting directly to the governor. And then the 911 board, which has been with prison guards, as I call it, in the Department of Public Safety and Corrections, is moving to an autonomous agency and will be in the part of, as part of MEMA. So that got a lot of consensus and excitement, and we're working towards making sure that goes successfully. The next one is the omnibus bill with a lot of the commission's recommendations, and that passed. And I'm going to just cruise through this. If there are questions, we can take them, but I don't want to take a lot of time on this because you all have gotten emails and updates a lot. The statewide 311 non-emergency setup to go statewide. Only 6 jurisdictions now have 311 for non-emergency as a strategy for lightening the load on our 911 centers and helping train and provide role models and opportunities for prospective staffers. There was great excitement in the Senate for that. It passed unanimously. There was great excitement in the House, but they said, everyone already supports this, so you don't really need a bill. So Director Strickland, I believe, is on this call, and he and I have already started our work, and several of you all are going to be involved with this to come up with a strategy, a report, and hopefully that will lead to legislation next year. There were a number of questions about funding and technology and all that, so we want to be able to answer all questions. Director Strickland, is there anything you want to add to that? To either of the two, to the MEMA move or the 311?
One, thank you for the MEMA move. And 2, I'm looking forward to reviewing the 311 because I really do see that it has and provides for emergency management and the jurisdictions in particular during disasters, a possible rumor control line as well as a preliminary damage assessment line. And there are 6 absolutely excellent 311 systems in the state, everything from the very robust and heavy urban areas down to St. Mary's County, which has to me almost a model of what we might be able to do statewide. So I'm really looking forward to digging deeper into this and coming up with what the requirements would be and then presenting them to a group and getting more questions and then addressing those comments and concerns and see what we can do from a statewide perspective. So thank you for the opportunity to comment on it.
Thank you, Director Strickland. Appreciate that. The last 2, I'm just going to talk about briefly. They did not become law. One was a conversation that we will continue through this commission about procurement, and the other continues to be an issue about penalties, appropriate penalties for swatting, which is basically phony calls to 911 that provoke a SWAT team response and could endanger lives with a police response. I did talk to the chair of the committee about that, and we are going to talk further. So let's move on, Sherry. Any questions about legislation? And do any of my colleagues want to add anything?
Hey, Senator Kagan, this is Sean Looney. I just want to make sure that this group and those listening in do not take for granted the significance of the accomplishments of this past session. It was challenging under any circumstances. A very small percentage of legislation gets passed during the 90-day session. And this past year was really challenging. And it really is a testament to your being a champion of this issue. And this is really going to be your legacy in Annapolis, one of many things, but this especially. And just congratulations to you and everyone else for getting this done, because it was a major accomplishment in this past session. So well done, Senator.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you for your membership on the commission and for all the energy and credibility that you bring to this. Sherry, I wonder whether we have the right PowerPoint, because we're missing some slides.
No, it's all coming up.
Okay, all right. Okay, so now we're talking about, we're looking at the future now. I want to acknowledge there's some people who have joined that that are going to introduce themselves, and we'll do quick introductions, and we'll do it by subcommittees. So this is just the obvious stuff. Please don't hesitate to speak out. On this meeting is ideal if you have questions, for sure. If you have ideas, we want to hear about them, and we all respect each other, whether or not we always agree. And you've all heard me say, if you've been around for a while, that we all boats rise. We don't want big counties to get ahead of small counties. We don't want wealthier counties to do something differently than less affluent counties. We are looking at all 24 jurisdictions. And Maryland Association of Counties, Kevin Canale, has been an invaluable member of this commission and an advocate from the very beginning. And so I just want to give him a very special shout out. And every one of those 24 jurisdictions has to be well served by our work. Kevin, anything you want to add on that before we move on?
Oh, thank you, Senator. Thank you for your advocacy. This is a priority issue for counties, of course. We're really happy with the work that's been done, and we look forward to continuing the work, which absolutely saves lives. So thank you for your leadership, and we look forward to it.
Thank you, Kevin. Okay, and just to be clear, I didn't pay off either Sean or Kevin to say nice things, so thank you. Okay, so moving on. These are the 4 subcommittees. I'm gonna go through each of them. If you want to unmute and do a quick introduction, I'm bolded are our new members. And so, so I am the commission chair, but I also chair the Finance and Structure Subcommittee. Steve, my awesome vice chair. All right, so I'm just going to read the names. So Steve Souter, with 53 plus years of 911 experience, is vice chair of the commission. Kevin Canale, who just said hello, Maryland Association of Counties. Sean Looney, who spoke a moment earlier from Comcast. Scott Roper, the executive director of the 911 board. And then Tony Rose, who has been serving on the commission, but has been on the technology and cybersecurity subcommittee, has agreed generously to join to this subcommittee, and that's great. So thank you, Tony, who's in a training now and can't join us. Anna Sierra, Caroline County, and a new member is Robbie Sandless from Hartford County. And as I indicated earlier, former delegate Michael Jackson has agreed to stay on and will be joining this subcommittee and bring his insights on public safety to this subcommittee. Anyone on this subcommittee want to say a brief anything before we move to the next?
This is Robbie. I'm glad to be a part of this commission, and thank you to Kevin and all for the nomination. I'm looking forward to it.
Robbie, why don't you give us 2 seconds of your background so everybody knows?
Sure thing. Robbie Sounds, the Hartford County Treasurer, which in almost any other county would just be called Director of Finance, but I got a fancy title that makes people think that I'm elected. And so I've been there for about 6 or 7 years previously, before that with Baltimore County and with Carroll County. And I know that Ross Coates is from Hartford County is on this. I very much will be picking his brain to get me up to speed as we move forward.
Dynamite. And Randy Cunningham is on the commission as chair. So, and Ross has been engaged.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Robbie. Welcome. Okay, Sherry. Oversight and accountability. As I mentioned, Scott Perlman from Baltimore City has generously agreed to make that shift. Steve Souter and I are ex officios on every subcommittee, and we try to attend, again, virtually attend every subcommittee meeting when our schedule's allowed. Again, gratitude to Chief Brooks, who will be advising and helping manage some of the workload. Delegate Susan Krebs, Anthony Myers, the chair of the 911 board and the director of the Public Service Commission, and then 2 new members of the commission who are going to be on this subcommittee, Tiffany Harvey from Verizon, who is succeeding Colton O'Donoghue, and Tammy Price from Baltimore County. So Delegate Krebs, first to you. Do you want to say a quick hello? And then we'll go to Tiffany and Tammy.
I'm going to say hello quickly and thank you. And we need to move on. So thank you for your leadership.
Thank you. Tiffany Harvey, why don't you introduce yourself? Give us a bit of your incredible background.
Okay, very quickly. So my name is Tiffany Harvey. I'm with Verizon. I'm on the State Government Affairs team. I will be supported by a lot of technical and subject matter experts with Verizon. So I'll be sharing that knowledge with you all. Prior to joining Verizon State Government Affairs team, I was with County Executive Also Brooks as her legislative director. And prior to that, I was legislative director for Attorney General Brian Frosh. So happy to be here. Looking forward to doing some great work.
Awesome. So delighted you're here. Thank you. Tammy Price.
Good afternoon, Tammy Price. I'm the chief of Baltimore County 911 Center. I've been in the profession for 30 years. I started with Baltimore County as a call taker, worked my way up through our various departments, training, recruitment, quality assurance, to this current position. And I appreciate the opportunity.
Very happy you're here. Thank you. Next. The Technology and Cybersecurity Subcommittee, always a powerhouse, making sure that our PSAPs, our 911 centers, stay safe. Randy Cunningham is out of town and was unable to join us, but he stepped in following Bill Ferretti's quasi-retirement. Again, Steve and I on as ex officio. Julia Fisher Dewitt is the Department of Information Technology, and she is the Geographic Information Systems expert and has been a wonderful guidance. MSP is Maryland State Police, and William Jenkins has been engaged here. I don't know who Alexandria's iPhone is. Okay. Jack Markey from Frederick County has been just a great resource from the start. Sean Scott, secular private industry that does a lot of work in this. And Ron Zucker, my former legislative aide who worked with me on these issues and with the commission, is also there and has been involved. Cecilia Warren with the Maryland Department of Disabilities has brought really important perspective. And then new is James Hamilton from Worcester County, as well as I mentioned, Bill Ferretti, former subcommittee chair, retiring, and former Montgomery County PSAP director. So James Hamilton, why don't you say a quick hello, give us a smidge on your background.
Thank you, Senator. Very happy to participate here. Got about 20 years public sector, public safety experience in Maryland, including the honor and privilege for serving for a few years under Chief Brooks in Cecil County and many years under Russell Strickland's leadership at MEMA. So thank you very much.
Perfect. Next. Staffing and training. Shar Flaherty is continuing in her role as director of chair of this subcommittee. Again, Steve and me as ex officio. Ross Coates, who chairs the ECC, the Emergency Communications Commission with Maryland Association of Counties, is involved with this one. Tracy German, who is under the headsets in Frederick County and has had an extraordinary career there, is on this one. My friend and colleague, Senator Ed Riley from Anne Arundel County. Dean Rohan, who used to work in the Prince George's County 911 Center, now with the Maryland State Police. Wonderful Bardana Woods, retired, but representing the National Emergency Numbers Association, NENA, is on this. And then I really want to thank Sue Greentree, who is not just shifting subcommittees, but is now new as officially as a commissioner. And she is retired from under the headset in Anne Arundel County. And 2 new commissioners, Brian Ebling, who has been engaged in the commission's work, but will now officially be a commissioner, formerly ran Caroline County's PSAP 911 Center. And then my friend, Delegate Terry Hill. So, Sue, since you're officially a new commissioner, why don't you say a quick hello, give a sense of your background, then Brian and Terry.
Hi, that is Sue Greentree, and I just want to say thank you to Senator Senator Kagan for inviting me to be on this group. I worked for Anne Arundel County 911 for a little over 35 years, retired about a year ago, but I am also on the Maryland 911 board, have been for 12 to 13 years as the APCO rep. And on that board, I sit on the Policy and Standards Committee, but I've also been participating a lot with the Training Committee for the last several months as they revamp the training standards and things like that for new hires and existing staff.
Great. Brian?
Good afternoon, Brian Ebling, retired from Caroline County in 2019. I was the PSAP director there, retired with 40 years of service. I also serve on the Maryland 911 board as the volunteer fire service representative. And I also chair the training subcommittee for the Maryland 911 board. Very enthusiastic about being a part of the commission and looking forward to the work that we can accomplish in this fourth and final year.
Excellent. Thank you. And Delegate Hill, welcome to the commission. Great to have you.
Great to be here, Senator, and thank you for all the work that you've done and taking this baby and making it a reality. So again, I'm Terry Hill. I'm a delegate, been serving on the Health and Government Operations with Delegate Krebs since 2015. So I've had the privilege of seeing, up front the quality of the work that you guys have been doing and how you're really transforming our 911 system, being able to look at the bills, not just because they're on the floor, but actually go through them and see the transformative changes that are going on. And it's been great. I'm also a practicing physician and have a great deal of past experience with 911 from that perspective as well. And so I'm really pleased to be part of this commission and looking forward to assisting you guys in this final year in any way I can.
Thank you. Thank you, Delegate. Okay, moving forward. All right, so now is the time we want to brainstorm. Whoop, nope, that's where we want to stay. So funding and structure is my subcommittee. A number of you were kind enough to send ideas and we have compiled those. But before we share some of what is on our list, we would love to hear your ideas. So I'm gonna give it a moment and see who's got something they'd like to share. Anybody? Mr. Vice Chair?
No, ma'am, thank you.
All right. Anybody? Okay, well, then I will share some of the ideas we have and then you all can give feedback. And this is a compilation of ideas that you've sent to us. So the first thing we really need to start off is figuring out how we're doing on revenues. And again, I don't know if Mr. Roper is with us yet, but the question, when we started off our efforts, there was 911 centers were significantly underfunded. We changed that with the Carl Henn Law, named in memory of my constituent and friend who died when he was struck by lightning and 911 was overloaded. We closed a loophole, we increased a fee, we also made more things, more of 911 center expenses reimbursable by the 911 board. And so we think that has made an impact. We want to take a look and analyze how we're doing. And so we'll be working with the 911 board, its members, and the comptroller's office and mission critical partners to make sure that we have that data and have addressed the issues that we needed to address. Also on funding, workers' comp is going to fit in on that subcommittees. We have already started that work because that is that has a funding component to the counties. And I want to give a special shout out to Karen and Mission Critical for her work in doing a national survey of what other laws look like. We are having a briefing next week. Ryan, do we have a date and time yet available that we can announce here, or we will announce it maybe at the end of the meeting?
Yeah, we can announce it at the end of the meeting.
Okay. So anyone is welcome to join. I invited everyone on my subcommittee, as well as others who I thought might be interested. No obligation. It will be 1 hour and it will be the basic overview. All right. And then the other piece that we will want to look at is whether anything else should be covered and reimbursed by the 911 fees that folks are paying. And just again, the division of how all that goes. And that is what that subcommittee will be focused on. Any other ideas, questions, suggestions, reactions to what I've just gone over?
Senator Steve here. If I just could, I know that some of the numbers that Scott Roper could provide us were available are very important. And I just wanted to be sure as we move on to the next subcommittee that maybe Scott is now available to join us. Scott?
I am on the phone. I haven't been able to talk, but I have whatever numbers you want.
Senator, back to you.
Great. So we will be working to get that information. And so that wasn't for this meeting, but we will be working with that in the subcommittee so that we make sure that that we will have that and can assess making sure that we're moving forward. So the challenge with the counties not getting enough funding from 911 is that they're paying the costs of public safety and 911 through the same pot of money that would cover schools and roads and social services and stuff. So that's why we want to make sure that that money is available. Any other comments or questions? And thank you, Mr. Roper, for joining us. Sherry, if you could rename him so we know that that's who that is in that window. And then we can move on to the next subcommittee. So technology and cybersecurity. As I indicated earlier, Rennie Cunningham is the chair. The issues we're going to be talking about include what I call PSAP in a box. Our 911 centers during the pandemic have been working remotely a lot. And how did that work? Where did that work? And how do we end up, do we need any legislative action in order for that to continue or expand as needed? Is Julia on the phone? Does she want to talk about GIS, the Geographic Information System?
I am on the phone, Senator.
Julia, why don't you chat for a minute about GIS and what you think we have before us?
Well, thank you for the opportunity. First, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you on the commission, as well as those supporting the commission, as well as those on the Maryland 911 board, PSAP community, the GIS community. I recently gave a presentation to the Maryland 911 board. Their generosity in funding so many of the new efforts, and they're still relatively new within the GIS community, has made it all possible. And so as part of that, I provided a presentation, an update. And one of the slides that I shared was partners. And I stopped for a moment and I thought about it and I started putting it down, and then I started running out of room because I think you have indicated this many times, and we see from the vastness of those involved here. There's so many areas of expertise. There are so many areas of consideration, that, and thank you. I mean, the community that's supporting this effort continues to grow, and we continue to bring the expertise in order to make it all happen, because everyone plays their part. And only by doing so will we all succeed. So
Julia, briefly, I think we're going to be talking about Z-axis this year. So I just want to make sure that we're talking about briefly the agenda items. So So your expertise on this is critically important. And the other pieces on this subcommittee, because I want to make sure there's time. Last year, this commission also talked about victims of domestic violence and getting them phones. Vice Chair Souter and I had a conversation with the Federal Communications Commission. Steve, do you want to say anything about that briefly?
Senator, first of all, they're very happy to know what we're doing here in Maryland. And I should take this opportunity to share with the commission also that there was some parallel work taking place between the Washington COG and the National
COG is the
Capital
Council of
Region.
Governments.
Yeah, so and that's working very well. We're going to have some recommendations in the near term, but just want everybody to be aware of that we're working independently of the federal government, but certainly in conjunction with them as well.
Great. Okay. Also in this subcommittee is going to be working across state lines, jurisdictional lines, and with federal installations. That's something we've talked about a lot. And then Bill Ferretti generously has agreed to help us wrestle with 311, 211, 911, and 988, the new suicide prevention hotline that's coming on. Bill, do you want to speak briefly about that?
I can, yes. Thank you, Senator. So 311, as you mentioned, is in a number of jurisdictions already in Maryland, but it can, as it was designed, it can take on many forms. So it'll be very interesting as we gather information and talk how 311 can be implemented statewide, leveraging the work that's already been done by existing counties, but also seeing now that with the new 988 number and the new 211 number, without the commission, while the commission stays in our lane of 911, how can we be the best partner we can with 211 and 988, and mutually supporting each other while making sure that we don't overstep, and also we keep in mind that 911 funding has to remain for 911, so we don't end up running afoul of the federal government rules for supplanting funds.
Exactly. Thank you. For those of you who are interested in being connected on 311, Director Strickland, as I mentioned earlier, he and I have already started to have conversations. We are having a first meeting coming up in the next week or two. Ryan, I don't know if we've set a date yet, but anyone is welcome to join or observe, be a part of it. If you have expertise or interest, we definitely want to engage with you. I know that Delegate Krebs has asked some really good questions on this, and I want to engage anyone who's got who is supportive or dubious or concerned or enthusiastic or whatever. So, so moving on from that, Senator Riley, you had something about telemedicine and 911 that might fit in technology, cybersecurity. Do you want to speak briefly about that? Let me see if he's still here or if he's muted. He's here, but he's muted. Okay, he might have had to step away. Okay, let me just say that Senator Riley had had an interesting issue that we may want to explore as well. Anything else on technology, cybersecurity?
Hey, Senator James Hamilton.
Please.
I would just invite you. I very much enjoyed seeing the PSAP in a box brought up. It's something that locally we have certainly explored in terms of what happens in a tertiary failure situation. Within the state of Maryland, in many of our jurisdictions, primary and backup 911 centers are within a mile or two of each other. And the need to plan for what happens when a primary and a secondary are down and a neighbor is also impacted is certainly something worth exploring. So I would encourage us to take that concept and open it just a bit into a tertiary PSAP situation. In the next generation world, it's going to be very good. Worcester County could send its calls in theory to Cecil County. But while we know that traditionally the line between 911 call taking and dispatching are blurred, it doesn't do our constituents much good if that call is received in, say, Cecil County, but there's no ability to actually dispatch a resource. So I would just encourage us to open that box up a little bit as we explore that issue.
Thank you very much, James. And I am so eager to learn more about this. It occurs to me that I didn't define my silly phrase that I call it. PSAP in a box is rather than needing to go into a 911 center, and again, during socially distanced, during COVID or anything, that can be risky. And so the question of, I have this image of a box or a suitcase or something, and taking the phone equipment, the dispatching equipment and everything home. The challenge is also broadband access, privacy, and space and training and so much more. So all of that is going to be something we want to learn more about. And I'm going to toss it to Tammy Price, because Baltimore County, of the 17 911 centers that I have visited around the state, Baltimore County is a little bit unique. So Tammy, will you just speak about what you guys do?
Just very briefly, we operate our primary and alternate sites simultaneously. So we have staff working at both sites for an additional level of redundancy should there be any interruption, or to allow us to more socially distance. There's a variety of reasons.
Yep. So is that best practice that other counties might want to consider? And so Tammy, that's going to be insight that you're really bringing to this commission. So thank you. Anything else on technology and cyber security? I don't know whether Senator Riley has rejoined, but we can hear more about that another time. Next subcommittee, please, Sherry. Staffing and training. Shar, do you want to kick us off?
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to participate again this year. This has been one of the most fulfilling things I've done, and I appreciate your leadership and your guidance. And I'm sure everyone in the 911 industry appreciates your guidance as well. We're very much looking forward to the next opportunities to assist the state with staffing and training options. One of the highlights we would like to do is to continue to work on what we were doing in the last several years, to compare notes with what's moving forward with the 911 board, so that we can address any gaps or issues that are in between. And I look forward to working with the rest of my team to come up with a lot more options and innovative ways to staff, train, and help recruit, find ways of recruiting what we're going to need for this next generation of 911 specialists.
Mm-hmm.
And we would also like to make sure that we're evaluating the applicants and making sure that we're bringing in a diverse staff, not only and for language skills as well, so that we can assist all 911 centers in serving everyone.
Yes. And to be clear, that was something that was amended onto our omnibus legislation, an analysis of the diversity and the methods we are using to recruit folks to serve under the headset. And so that data should be available. We will analyze, compile, and prepare that as part of our report, in keeping with the legislative request to do so. And Shar?
One other issue that's near and dear to everyone's heart that we've talked about for the past 4 years is to have 911 specialists identified as public safety personnel and first responders. And we would like to work on the reclassification issue as well.
Yep. Do you want to say what that means for somebody, let's say a reporter who's watching who might not know what that is?
We would like to evaluate and standardize what we're moving forward with, evaluate what the 911 specialists do now and what they're going to be doing in the future, and their critical role that they have in public safety, and to recognize the critical role that they have in public safety right now. And they are the first responder, and it's very, very important that we have not only that recognition internally, but externally as well as a classification.
Perfect. Okay. And we all know that the feds have been talking about it for forever, but while we've been waiting for them to take action in Congress, we can move forward in Maryland. So that's going to be huge. And thank you, Shar, for your ongoing leadership. It's
Thank you, ma'am.
okay. Sharon, anything else on staffing and training? Any other ideas? Anything Shar didn't mention? Okay, moving on. Oversight and accountability. So again, Chief Brooks is still with us, and we're grateful for that. Scott Brillman, why don't you tell us what you're thinking about for your subcommittee?
So I look forward to picking Chief Brooks's brain because he's run a well-oiled machine in the past 2 years. So I look forward to that. But I think I know that you have a lot of ideas, but I think we need to work on continue to work on carrier outages and notifications. It's important that not only PSAPs get notified of outages, but also the public that needs to know when they can or cannot dial 911 and what to do. So I look forward to this year, and so let's rock and roll.
Fantastic. Mr. Souter, Vice Chair, do you want to add on about outages, again, about our conversation with the Federal Communications Commission and outages?
Yes, they're very interested in that, and they've recently posted some invitation for public comment. We're waiting to hear what that's all about, and we will certainly respond to that request, because I think at this point we're probably 3 or 4 steps ahead of them. But we're very excited also about the new level of interest there is in this within the carrier community. There was a time, unfortunately, in the past when they were kind of at arm's length. And right now that is not the case. They have done a significant reassessment of the importance of this issue and are very, very anxious to work with us and we with them mutually to come up with something that works for them, works for us, and most importantly, works for the public.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Souter. Captain Brillman, one of the things that your subcommittee will need to figure out is whether you all want to submit that kind of letter on behalf of the subcommittee, whether we bring it to the full commission and get sign off, whether I do it as a senator, so that'll be something that you all will help lead the conversation about. The other thing is reimbursables, deliverables, the process for procurement. That will be in the Oversight and Accountability Subcommittee. We've had some glitches with bills not being paid and reimbursement through all the hoops and processes and players and stuff. And so we want to make sure that when a county has spent money, that the vendors or the county get reimbursed in a timely manner. And so that will be something, how to streamline that, and working with the 911 board, on which you and Mr. Souter both serve, and others, Ms. Sierra and others. Also, Mr. Souter talked about reviewing COMAR. Steve, do you want to talk more about that?
Surely. COMAR, as we all know, is a compilation of all of the bills that affect 911, particularly that have been passed and adopted over many years. We are interested as a subcommittee in kind of reviewing that. We cannot change that. That is law. But we want to be sure that there may not be any slight amendments that are necessary, word changes, just something to keep it in pace with where we are. The legislation began in the late 1970s. A lot of time has passed since then. And we want to be sure that what's reflected in COMAR is what we need, looking not only to the day, but looking to the future as well.
Right. And I think that's really smart, Steve, and we will look to Mission Critical and this subcommittee to guide us on that. And if there's something that needs to be included in our legislation, we'll need to know that. The last piece is transparency. The 911 board meetings are now live streaming, as we are as well, and as more and more government agencies are. There are still a few questions and issues that I think the subcommittee will probably want to assess and figure out when things should be public and when there needs to be discretion for cybersecurity, vulnerability, privacy, or other purposes. So Scott, you will You will be busy, but I think those are all critically important. So thank you for your leadership. Anything else on oversight and accountability? Anyone else want to speak up on those issues? Okay, Sherry, I think we can move on. Go ahead. Okay, so now we have to figure out, and I'd like a really engaged conversation here on this. The first year we had every subcommittee met for an hour every week on the phone. That was even before pandemic. And issues start in subcommittees, then they get voted on in subcommittees. All the research is done in subcommittees. They get brought to the full commission for discussion, debate, and vote, which then gets incorporated into our annual report, which then gets incorporated into legislation. So that's the process. Last year, whether it was COVID or confidence or something, we started later, and we also did every other week meetings. And the feedback that we got was that it wasn't enough time. And we just started talking about this 10 minutes ago and already we're voting on it. So I don't think we want that to happen again. So my recommendation, and each of the 4 subcommittee chairs will need to decide what's right for theirs, but I will tell you for my subcommittee, I want to start right away. And my goal will be to then have some time off, maybe in July and or August, but starting in May and really working in May and June, then we can make recommendations to the full commission, get those approved, starting to write up the report. And one of the challenges, another challenge with our time frame last year was that it came together so late and we met the legal deadline, but it was late for drafting legislation. And so we ended up filing legislation that wasn't exactly what we wanted, but we stopped having time to approve it. So my goal would be releasing the report earlier and therefore having the commission meetings earlier and then the subcommittee meetings earlier. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Steve, do you want to start? And then anyone else who wants to weigh in on this?
Well, your observation is spot on, and I think we don't want to do anything that even gives the appearance of giving too little time to too important issue. So whatever we have to do this year, based upon the experience of last year, I think is good. But I want to hear also the feedback from our commission members who are in fact going to be tackling these issues, so that in fact, whatever we adopt and expect them to do is going to be a manageable thing from their perspective as well.
Great. Others?
I'll jump in and say that I think it's a very good idea as well, because then we have an opportunity to discuss and expand on our discussion so that we can dig deeper if we need to as we move along.
Scott, as another subcommittee chair, thoughts?
Since I'm a new committee chair, I agree with Shar and for whatever she wants to do with these meetings.
Okay. Bill Ferretti, Chief Brooks, anything you want to add? If not, I'll shift it to Sherry Griffith Powell.
Nothing here.
Okay, Chief.
Rock and roll. No, let's do it. I think we need to accomplish the goal and keep the meetings going, get the people involved. That keeps their interest, and we can have a successful outcome.
Great, Sherry.
Tell
us about mission.
Well, I think that, yeah. So I think Mission Critical's preference might be that we perhaps start earlier and not have to have a meeting every week initially. And I think that's what I've been hearing, right? Is maybe we start earlier and every other week we have a meeting. And then as we get closer, we ramp up, because you're right. we definitely would like to have the draft report done much sooner.
Much sooner. Okay. So there may be a different rhythm for different subcommittees, but we hear.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so bottom line is let's figure out, but let's get it done. Ryan Kirby just notified me. Ryan, do you want to talk about what we're looking at for next week? My chief is back.
Sure. So still looks like we're based on a couple of doodle poll results for Senator Kagan's funding and structure subcommittee. Tentatively looks like Wednesday, May 12th from 1 to 2 p.m. will be their first meeting.
2 to 3 or 1 to 2?
1 to 2.
Oh, that's not what's in the calendar. Okay.
Yeah. So Senator, I wasn't on that doodle poll, and let's talk.
Okay. All right. Okay, we will definitely be sending out, if those of you who might be interested would please, Brian, can you toss the doodle poll link into this chat now so that folks, anyone who's interested can weigh in as to their availability and preferences. And again, any of you are welcome to participate. Ryan, you got that?
Yep.
All right. Any other thoughts about timelines and expectations and how we move forward? Okay. Let's see. Sherry, is that the last slide? There we go. Okay. All right. So with that, I will pause and see if there are any closing remarks. The doodle link is in the calendar in the chat. If you would click on that, please put your first name and last name so that we know who's available, and then we can lock in the date that works for the most people. Anyone else have anything else they'd like to share?
Senator Steve here. First of all, I'd like to echo your remarks made earlier as all of the commission members were introduced, reintroduced, mission critical partner team expanded and introduced. But I also want to take what I guess in the political world is called a
Point of personal privilege.
there you go. That's the word. There was somebody mentioned, and she introduced herself, Kyra Pilium. Here's her name, the new member of the mission critical partner team. And I think Sherry mentioned my name when she mentioned Kyra's name. But there's more beyond that than just a name. Kyra was the police dispatcher on duty on 9/11 in Arlington County when it was struck by the terrorist attack in the airplane. I was at her elbow, and we were a small operation in Arlington County, a primary police dispatcher, primary fire dispatcher, a couple other support positions, but it was about a 5-person team. And here we were confronted with the biggest event that had ever happened in our professional career. Kyra stepped up and managed that event in an incredible way that led to the most effective response of public safety resources to that event of any of the events that occurred that day. It was so good that she was invited to go to Great Britain and to explain to the law enforcement community of the UK what we had experienced in the US, and she represented our nation and our profession with the utmost professionalism and class. I'm proud to know her. I was proud to be beside her then, and I'm proud that she's working again with Mission Critical and me and us, and we will all benefit from that background. Kyra, welcome.
Steve, that was,
Senator,
please, Kyra, go ahead.
thank you. Yes, I've known Steve since 1995. He hired me with Arlington County, and I will tell you the thrill that I have of being a part of this, particularly with the standards and training. I owe my success on that day and supporting all of the responders and the public to the training that I received at Arlington. And that's why that is just so very important, that it is streamlined and focused on in such a great way. So Steve, thank you very much for your kind words. I appreciate that.
Kyra, that's extraordinary. Thank you. I have to say that I lost a childhood friend on that plane into the Pentagon. that day. So thank you for helping manage what was impossible to manage.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Any other comments as we start to close out? So one of the missions in my office is always under promise, over deliver. And so we asked everyone to save 2 hours, and the hope was that we would be an hour and a half. And even though we started late, it looks like we're just about at that, about an hour and a half, so a little early. So, oh no, we got on early, never mind. So looks like about an hour and a quarter. So that's pretty good. So let's continue that kind of efficiency and collaboration. And our next meetings are going to be subcommittees. We will be sending out doodle polls far in advance. I'm going to really ask you to let us know if you've got travel, personal or business travel. When you know there's going to be a week, let's say that you're out of town, please let us know, because everyone in this room is critically important to our progress. So we're going to want to make sure that we schedule at a time when most or all of you can be present. Ryan or Abby, anything more before we wrap up?
The only thing I'd add is if you have any questions at all about any of the process or some concerns or anything, definitely feel free to reach out. You should have our email or our phone number. But if you don't, just let me know.
Perfect. Thank you.
Senator, this is Nancy. Did Ryan have a date for the briefing?
So the workers' comp briefing, go ahead, Ryan.
So it looked like in the doodle poll, the 12th at 1 o'clock, May 12th, had the highest number of responses, but we may need to talk about that.
So Sherry said she wanted to talk about it. So maybe there's some unavailability at Mission Critical's end. That is not a Mission Critical briefing. It is a Department of Legislative Services briefing, and we will have a legislative expert give us sort of the ground level. I can only speak for myself. I am not a workers' comp expert, and nor do I aspire to be, but I want to know enough that I'm going to be able to consider legislative options. And with Karen Henry and others, hopefully we will be able to move forward on some of that if the commission deems that appropriate. So yeah, thank you for the question, Nancy. Any other questions? Mr. Myers, on behalf of the 911 board, do you want to say anything? Because we have not had you speak so far today.
Thank you, Senator, and I'll echo the comments of the other commissioners. Thank you for your leadership on these very important issues. It's going to be a very busy year. I appreciate the dissemination of information that is taking place on today. It's very helpful to get a head start on these things, and looking forward to a productive year. Thank you.
Thank you. We will, some of these notes and some of the subcommittee ideas, we will share with obviously with the subcommittee chairs, and they can share with you, or we can share with the whole commission, or whatever seems easy. But again, it is not too late for new ideas, but we do want to have a sense of the breadth of our work. So now or soon is better than September. With that, I toss it to the vice chair, the Mission Critical. Oh, Chief Brooks.
I just want to make sure, I know you have it, amazing, but my cell phone remained the same. My email has changed, and I just supplied that to Sherry so that she's got it. It's wonderful not receiving emails. And
it's about to change.
Yeah, I know, and I thought twice before I clicked send to that. But that's okay. I appreciate the senator inviting me to continue on. I haven't left anything. I now do global cybersecurity consulting and things like that. So that's just a whole lot of fun. We're looking forward to getting back to the travel. It's what I used to do anyway. So it's a lot of fun, but it'll be a pleasure to be with you all for this year. I just want to get back to Annapolis and have meetings in person, please. And that would be great. So it's nice to see you all.
Amen. All right. Anyone else? Good and welfare? Anna, do you want to make an announcement about you?
Sure. I actually just sent Sherry a direct text as well with my information. So I am also in transition. I'm still technically employed by Caroline County and will be for the next couple of weeks. But starting June 2nd, I will be the Chief Development Officer for the Maryland Department of Emergency Management. which I could not be more excited about. So the center has graciously allowed me to stay involved with the commission. Obviously, this is near and dear to my heart, so I'm looking forward to continuing to be a part. But I will no longer be representing Caroline County. So
Yeah. Thrilled for you, and even more thrilled, selfishly for us, that you're going to stay connected and you're going to be a key part of the 311 conversations through Director Strickland and others. So congratulations. I see Mr. Roper's face. That's very exciting. Scott, is there anything you want to add as we're wrapping up?
No, just happy to be here and eager to provide any support that I can.
Awesome. We appreciate you. Thank you very much. Bill Ferretti, you've come on. Is that because you wanted to say hello, goodbye?
Yep, I followed along last year from afar and paid attention to what the commission was doing. Had the opportunity to still testify for one of the bills. Unfortunately, I was one of the ones that didn't make it out of committee, but you know, we'll see what this year brings. But I'm happy to be able to lend a hand again and to look at specifically the 311 progress moving forward.
Awesome. I have to say, after a hearing, to get a text from Bill Ferretti saying, you know, that was a really good hearing or something, was like, oh my God, he's watching our work. And so great to get his coaching. I want to just, Vice Chair, anything you want to say to wrap us up? Then I'll take a point of personal privilege to wrap us and we'll close.
Move forward, ma'am.
All right. Love the brevity. Thank you. I just want to give one more welcome to Delegate Terry Hill, to Robbie Sandless from Harford County, to Tiffany Harvey from Verizon, to Tammy Price from Baltimore County, James Hamilton from Worcester County, Brian Ebling, retired, from Caroline County, and Wayne Darrell from Kent County. And you all are just going to bring such new energy and expertise, and we're just very thrilled to have you. So with that, Sherry, unless there's something else, I would suggest we could adjourn.
Okay. Yeah, I don't show anything else on our agenda.
Okay. All right. Thank you all. Watch your email. Please respond to doodles. Stay safe, get vaccinated, and thank you for all you do in your day jobs, as well as for this commission for the whole state of Maryland. Take care. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Bye-bye.